131.
263. See, I said a number.
Numbers.
I'm so special. Okay, so topic. I had a dream the other night. And the dream that I had, I will not recite the whole dream, but I will recite the gist of it. Is that, maybe I'll just recite kind of like the summary of it. That somebody needed a haircut. And there was an army that was going to come in order to make the haircut happen. Like a whole army was going to come. And then something else big. And I was like, this is completely unproportionate to the idea of facilitating a haircut.
Yeah.
And, obviously that was the story. But the message that I get, the teaching that I get out of this is we want the solutions, one, to always be bigger than they need to be. And two is, so we proportionally oversize the solutions that are necessary for any one scenario to be solved, or even any one scenario to be addressed. As simple as, in this case, it was like haircut, right? Because what I felt was like, why does there need to be an army coming and some other huge thing just for someone to get a haircut? Like, that is completely out of proportion.
Right.
And then two, the hypothesis that then I'm pushing out of this that I think is accurate is, I think we design solutions and then create problems for them.
Yeah, no, I know that I certainly have done, probably still do that. Or, it's like at some level, maybe some unhealthy level, it almost feels like the point of life is to be solving problems.
It seems that way if you're functioning in three-dimensional trauma.
Yeah. And so, to me, my whole life, the more, clever and ingenious a solution could be, the better I would feel about myself, the better I would think I was perceived by others, all that. So yeah, it is not a stretch to say that I had solutions in search of problems. You have a cat.
I'm not going to stay, but I got it.
It's...
Yeah, because it makes you feel safe.
It makes you feel safe, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've got all these solutions, now I need to solve something. Now I need to use them.
Well, no, I think this directly goes back to, I'm not sure, the microphone is next to me and I need to stay very still. Okay, so it goes back to, I think I mentioned this on the podcast, but I'll reference it again. You know how the master plan of survival is designed by a 3-year-old with crayons? Oh, I lost it. I'm free, but I don't have a cat. So the solutions to that master plan is how the child is going to keep itself safe.
Right.
And the truth is, our entire life, we're not, for the most part, actually in any danger, right? So this goes back to that like survival brain instincts. We're not in danger, right? But the child, as long as it's not healed, is always perceiving the danger. And the crayon master plan has been designed, here's all the ways that I'm going to be solving all of the dangers in my life. So we have endless amount of solutions to implement to make sure that we're never in danger. But the solutions are pointless if you're always safe, because we are, right? Do you know what I mean? Like right now, I'm sitting here and I'm safe. But if the child is running the show in fear, then no, solutions need to be implemented. So you're always looking for problems to implement into the solutions that you have.
Yeah.
Which is when I got that teaching and when I got that dream, I was flabbergasted because I was like, oh my gosh, that's it. Like there's actually no problems. And yes, like let's say there is a problem, but the solution to the problem is never, ever, ever as big as we make it out to be. The problem is never as big as it is.
Right. Right. Yeah,
but the solution is so big that the problem needs to get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Right. It needs to be appropriately sized for this ridiculous solution we've come up with.
Yeah, but the size of the ridiculousness of the solution is the childhood trauma of how in the fuck do I keep myself safe all the time? If I can't keep myself safe, then what? So the problems get created based on that mindset, and the solutions are super big. And if you want to relate it back to manifesting, you're just walking around manifesting unlimited problems to make sure that you have all the ways to implement these solutions.
I have a super 3D example.
Sure.
If you want me to go there.
Yeah, as long as we can climb out of it.
I saw this thing. I'm on this like technology newsletter, and I saw this guy who made this. It was like how the Kindles have, it's an e-ink screen, that black and white screen. It's super duper low power.
Yeah.
And it's a big old e-ink screen that they have in their, I don't know, kitchen, and it has like the whole family plan, and it has a calendar, and it has all this stuff on it. I'm like, that's really cool to a technology enthusiast. And then I'm like, but what problem is that solving for me? I'm like, ooh, that's neat. I would like to do that. And then I'm like, but why? Other than like some sort of distraction or something. There's no that we don't have a problem that would solve. Other than now there's another piece of junk in the kitchen. Yeah. I don't know. That happened a couple weeks ago. I'm like, that looks really neat. But we don't have a calendar problem, organization problem like that.
Yeah, that's very like rudimentary.
Yeah, I know.
I'm talking about like at the core of the child trauma. Like, I'm unlovable. That's the premise, right? The thesis is I'm unlovable. Do you decide that when you're 3 or 2 or 0, whenever you're laying in a crib, right? When somebody doesn't come to comfort you. And then the shootout is, here's all the things I need to do in order to make sure that I stay lovable.
All the solutions to that.
All the solutions.
Yeah.
And then Crayon Master Plan is the solutions to the problem that you never had, but you perceive to have when you were in crib waiting for somebody to come and feed you.
Right. All the way to winning the Super Bowl. Well, maybe then I'll be lovable. Got to do that.
It doesn't matter. I think it really comes down to this, and this is kind of maybe like a sad summary to it all. The entire life of a human being, unless they realize this, is only trying to implement problems from the master plan of a 3-year-old crayon child. That's it. There's nothing in this world, unless you realize that you're doing this and you draw awareness to this. Everyone out there, including me and including you, is just simply trying to implement the solutions that the child has designed as potential solutions to not feel unsafe. Because, the second their worst fears come true, the master plan has been implemented ahead of time. That's the thing. You're implementing the plan ahead of time.
Yeah, you're actively implementing your solution without even a problem.
Yeah, but the funny part about it is this literally how manifesting works. You have solutions, you need to put them in use. So you're not going to go in the past and go, hey, child, why are we doing this? Why are we having this conversation? Like, should we rethink this master plan? Should we actually rethink the initial story that I'm unlovable, right? We're not doing that. We're going, there's all these solutions. Let's create problems into the future that still facilitate the need to implement all of these solutions. And you know how people say like, my entire life has just been one story. It's just like same problems over and over and over. Yeah, duh, because you have designed the same solutions. Your problems are the same because your list of solutions is the same. The initial kickoff point for all solutions has been manifested or designed at the age of 3, let's say, with the crayons. And now you're not that smart, like we don't need to reinvent the wheel. The solutions are already there. So let's just continue to manifest all the life problems that they're exactly the same, one just a different reiteration of the other, that only implement the solutions.
Right. And then you feel safe because you've solved the problem.
No, because you have the solutions. You feel safe because no matter what, you already have the set of solutions, because the problem you're manifesting is the exact problem that would be solved by the solutions that you have. Like it is kind of like a really strange, almost reverse way to look at life. But I actually think that's how it is.
No, I think so too.
And it's like my jaw dropped and I was like, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. So what? How do you get out of it?
I honestly, I think knowing this and actually, you can hear this and you can go, okay, whatever, it's just Tanya just blobbing. But like once I spent time analyzing this, like it totally makes sense. Like I almost can't see the world any other way, because it quite literally unravels everything, in my opinion. And it makes it obvious that the solutions are there as protection mechanism from the child that designed the idea that they're unsafe. So when we're talking about causeway, like building that causeway in order to let the child in and basically heal that trauma and just integrate it, realize that child's master plan comes from the story, the cumulative story that the child is unsafe and is unloved, or whatever the story is, right?
Right. So that's the problem is not that you're unsafe. The problem is that you think you're unsafe.
The child thinks
the child thinks they're unsafe.
Right.
Is this fundamental belief structure.
Yeah.
That is just
but just say
wrong,
unsafe, right? Unsafe is a generalized statement. But again, I want to point out you have to go in your specific flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So like in your case is unlovable. In my case, unsafe, I guess, through, whatever. My slew of things is maybe like a burden or bad or whatever else. I think I have the entire spectrum. So I can basically find any emotional thread that connects me to anyone and I can feel that way. Unloved is not it. Like I didn't really care about being loved. I cared about being safe more than loved. Right. So mine goes to the core and I have flavors, but yours kind of sits more on the unloved part. And then you can see, okay, well, unloved does lead to unsafety. But I think the poking is the unloved.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think at some point, whenever someone, you or I, have spent enough time living through a specific story of emanation, the story of selected truth, but then later under some observation going, okay, really untruth, right? I'm not unsafe. Right now, I'm not unsafe. So is the story of me being unsafe true? And right now I would say no, it is not true. So then the story is being propagated from the past, right? You're holding on to something from the past because you want to continue to live that story. And this is going back to all of our previous podcasts, but kind of summarizing it now in the lens through the solution. So the question is, how long do you want to continue to live that story, right? And Wayne Dyer, remember how Wayne Dyer recited that poem that said the lady who summarized the life is you like walk down the street, you fall down the hole. And like next time you walk down the street and you fall down the hole and you're like, oh, there's a hole. So next time you walk down the street, you try to avoid the hole, but you still fall down it. And then at some point you're like, I'm just not going to walk down that street. And so that's the question, is the story is all the ways that you are broken. And the question is, how long do you want to live that story?
Yeah.
And continue to walk down the same street? Yeah.
No, there's some sort of, I don't know that I want to call it enlightenment, but there's some sort of light bulb that goes off when you realize that like you've been like, maybe blindly, maybe actively.
It's all actively, right? It's you want to. So if you are blind, you're just pretending not to know what you're doing because you want to continue to experience the story.
Yeah.
In order to continue to have the same earth experience.
But at some point, you're so aware of it that you become aware that it is an active choice, and you're like, maybe I don't want to choose that anymore.
Yeah, and but you have to, one, be aware of it, and then two, go, but what do I? If not this, then what do I want? Right. And at some point, I will admit that it could be scary to go, wait, I basically have to unravel my entire self and my entire belief system because the set of solutions that I'm living through do not work because they are from a baseline of that story.
It is scary because it's like when I've done that to some degree. And when I was doing it, it's like, I don't know any other way to live. So it is like this, identity crisis type moment. And it's like, what else is there other than,
falling back into the old,
other than, well, of course I'm unsafe. Of course I'm unloved. These fundamental beliefs that I've always had in my life. And, if you take those away, it's like, well, I don't even know who I am anymore.
But that's because you want to hold on to that old identity.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, but then that's a choice. The choice is I'm going to continue to walk down the same street and fall down the same hole because I want to experience the exact same set of things. Because I'm comfortable being
that's
unsafe.
Exactly it. Because as much as it may suck, you get something out of it. It is comfortable in some way. It is known. It is familiar.
Yes.
It is comfortable. You may say it's objectively bad in your life to go through these things, and that's maybe true, but you get something out of it.
Well, it's one of those things. It's the devil you know versus the devil you don't. And you think that letting go of these things is going to make you find a new devil.
Right.
That's not the case. Letting go of the things is just letting go of the lie you have created.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I guess my point was that it was difficult to do because I was so married to that as part of my identity.
Yeah. Well, like in your case, I mean, this is like a silly example, but it's an example that you used to do. Like, remember, this was a while back that we actually had this conversation before we even maybe started, maybe in the beginning when we first started dissecting ourselves. Remember you were like, oh, if I help around the house, as a man, I help around the house, then I'm good, and then you will love me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Right. It's like,
I'm not saying that is not how the world functions.
Right. But connecting, helping around the house and being loved, that's the problem itself. These are two orthogonal topics that have nothing to do with each other.
Yeah.
Should one help around the house? Yeah, probably, because there's stuff that needs to get done. But that stands on its own. That has nothing to do with being loved. There's nothing to do with getting love or receiving love or anything like that.
Yes.
They are completely disconnected topics.
Yeah, so that is what I want to point out. The 3-year-old master plan for the solutions of how I'm going to get loved still has everyday living in it.
Yeah.
But everyday living is only through the lens, this is how I get loved.
Yeah, no.
You continue living the way you live, but you disconnect the lies.
Yeah.
If you want to help around the house, that's fine. But do it because that's the right thing to do by your own understanding, not because this is a requirement for me to get love.
Yeah. Once I started disconnecting those, I've been trying to be aware of why I do things. And sometimes it's like, ooh, every now and then there'll be some sort of fallback into, ooh, look at this. This isn't for the best reason. And, maybe it still needs to be done, but being aware of it.
Yeah.
Is because then you can draw some attention to it and go, well, why do I feel the need to do whatever it is in order to get whatever I think I'm getting out of it, which you're not, but yeah.
What?
And that process to me dissolves that connection. It's like, yeah, this doesn't actually do that. Helping out around the house doesn't actually get me love. Certainly not any sort of proper love, and certainly not from you.
There's no such thing as getting love.
Right. Yeah. But it may, in as much as I would say that proxy is an intention for love, you can see how I made that mistake to begin with. There was some sort of feedback loop. Oh, if I do this, then you'll notice, and then whatever. but severing that connection, going, well, this isn't even the right type of, even if it's attention, that's still not love. If I do something, then I get attention. Attention equals love. Love equals safety. All of these things are false.
Yes, that's
every single step along the way is a false step. So seeing those steps and breaking the connections there was eye-opening.
Yeah,
because it was like, oh my gosh, like everything I do is like that.
Yeah,
and I mean like quite literally everything.
I actually think because like the solutions in order to design problems, because we have all these solutions to implement. That when I know we're not supposed to be talking about the book or still reading, but like when the book mentions that we think that I know in Ukraine, the way I was brought up is that the world is basically out to get you. Right? You're going to get you, and then you better be prepared with solutions. So one, don't trust people. They're out to screw you over, right? But in Ukraine, that's kind of the case. The government's corrupt.
There you go. You're just reinforcing it.
Well, no, but what I'm saying
but it's true.
No. When everyone's living in the constant form of drowning, then the cumulative consciousness of complete nonsense is the only visible thing. So as a child, before even understanding, I think I very quickly understood that, oh shit, I came into the world where things are not love and light. Do you know what I mean? Like people are choosing to blah, but then sooner or later, that's my choice too. Do you know what I mean? Like I was not able as a child to keep away from falling into a story design. Like maybe I do think some children come in with the goal of not designing this terrible story in order to to then awaken from it. But I just, maybe that's not my point in life, or just I wasn't able to hold that. But yeah, I totally fell into the story. So yeah, I also saw Ukraine through the lens of my parents and everyone in Ukraine. It's a survival. It's basically a race to survive. You got to get the right connections. You got to get sugar here, and you got to get some flour there, and you got to bribe this person or get some shoes. And
you can't let the bag of sugar be visible when someone comes in the house.
Yeah, because right, yeah, that was the thing. Because we, the meter reader person had to come inside the house, like the little thing that spun was in, like not completely inside, but like we had like 2 pre-corridors into the property, and this into the second corridor. And they didn't come often. I don't know why they didn't even come that often. Like in here, they read a meter every month, but in there, like
here, it magically transmits itself.
Now it does. I mean, but back when I moved to the United States, they would come. But in Ukraine, they would come, but they wouldn't come every month. So maybe like lack of personnel. So, sooner or later they would come. And I don't actually know if there was a schedule or not. But I always knew, because grandma said that, because that's where the bag of sugar and flour is set, just period. And I remember like, oh, we need to hide that when the meter reader comes.
Because otherwise.
Well, because I think, I could be wrong, but I want to say during Soviet Union, when you go to the store and you wanted to buy sugar, you were only allowed to, if there was sugar in stock, which usually there was not, but if there was sugar, you were only allowed to say, let's say, get, is it pound? It's not pounds in Ukraine. What is it? Kilogram. Yeah, kilogram. So 1 kilo of it, right? I don't know if that 1 kilo is a lot or not, because I switched to a pound system and I don't even know what kilos are.
2.2.
Okay, sure, whatever. I still don't know what that is. But anyway, so even if you were to go in the store, it was rationed in the way that you were limited in the purchase amount. Like you couldn't just go up and buy up all the sugar.
So if you have a big old bag of sugar.
So if you have a big bag of sugar, yeah, how in the fuck did you get that? And the truth was, my grandma had a connection at the distribution factory. And the reason why the stores were so low on sugar is because they were being bought out
everybody
under
had
the
a
table.
Connection at the factory.
Yeah. And so actually people at the factory would sell them under the table and make their own money before they even got to the stores.
Gosh.
So, right. So it is easy to fall into the, if you don't even have sugar or flour, survival is kind of imminent. Do you know what I mean? And so, yeah, it was super easy for me. I think the reason why I was born in Ukraine is because if I was born in the United States, for the most part, even the poorest person here is doing pretty well in comparison to Ukraine, right? When we moved to the United States and we were on food stamps and government support, we were doing pretty good in comparison to Ukraine. We had running water, we had heating, we had air conditioning. Oh, yeah, there's no air conditioning in Ukraine.
You can buy sugar by the 25-pound bag if you want to.
There's no, and stores have everything you want.
Right? COVID was the first time we ever experienced anything that wasn't that.
Sure.
We're like, oh, wow, there's no toilet paper.
Yeah, but to
That's
me,
weird.
to me it was kind of cool because it was reminiscent of like scarcity Ukraine. I was like, ooh, well, this is cool.
To me, because we were, low-level preppers and we had lots of toilet paper. And we didn't really eat eggs, so that was not a big deal.
No, back then we ate eggs, but we could go without eggs.
We didn't care about eggs. Eggs weren't a daily staple.
Yeah. No, I think during COVID we had eggs.
We weren't.
It was the toilet paper and sanitizer that we were lacking.
Yeah, well, we had toilet paper.
We had toilet. Well, but you were still flipping out of toilet paper.
Yeah,
But think about this: the vibratory frequency that keeps you unsafe, right, is huge, right? If something comes into the world in the United States, Western world, and it's pretty mundane, but you let it go all the way to safety, you can take a minor thing and blow it up to the most unsafest thing, right? But in Ukraine, it was more logical in a way to where, well, yeah, if I don't have food, I'm not surviving. In the United States, it's almost like harder to be an idiot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're like,
the direct path to starving to death is a lot more difficult in the United States if you try. If you try it at all.
Yeah, but most of the people in the United States, even though they're not primed, like we just came back from Belize, right? Mm-hmm. An average citizen in Belize is not living with water. And you don't need heat, but definitely no air conditioning. The houses are falling apart.
Very literally.
Yeah, they're like crammed together in these. This is one area of it. We've been to the other area, and I was there in San Ignacio. It was a little bit different. But where we were at the end, right on that peninsula, it's tight living. Like tight living.
That, but the dichotomy of the locals' houses, which are not big and not in great condition. And then, next door is some sort of, resort. And then it's back to local houses. And then it's resort. And you're like, ooh, this is...
Yeah, there's
a lot of contrast there.
It's difficult to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult to be there. Yeah, but think about that. Their survival right now to this day, and I'm sure Ukraine right now is even worse because it's under war. You literally have an example of imminent unsafety.
Right. Bombs could literally fall from the sky.
We went to the grocery store and we had a hard time finding, like the first day there was no tomatoes. The grocery store does not have tomatoes. The second day there was no avocados, right?
Or tomatoes.
Or tomatoes, right? And so like there was no cilantro. I mean, now granted that I just me making guacamole. Everybody can probably guess from this recipe what I'm doing. Right. But we did not have ingredients to make proper guacamole.
But you know what? They did have tortilla chips.
Tortilla chips are very important. Yes. But that's a local economy that makes local food. Yeah. But I bet everything else is imported, or for the most part. Maybe tomatoes or not, but But when we were at the one grocery store, I saw a lady in there, and her husband and boyfriend was already in the cart. And it looks like, and this is what we ended up doing later, she would go to different stores trying to see who had what.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is like, in America?
No, it's you go to one store and they have everything.
And then more than everything.
Maybe a different store would have a better price on this, and this store would have a better price on that.
Everything has everything.
Everything. It's, yeah. You go to Walmart, you can get everything you need.
Yeah, but in there's not everything. And there you go. When we were in Bahamas back when the kids were on goat milk, right? Because that's what the kids had. Our little one was on goat milk instead of cow milk after she, graduated from breastfeeding. And we went to Bahamas and we were like, oh, okay, yeah, let's look. And we go there and it happens to be the exact brand of goat milk that we get. And we don't think twice about it.
I couldn't believe it.
No, I just didn't even think twice about it.
I couldn't believe it because I'm like, that's
I just thought it would be there. I just never even thought that we would not have goat milk. Right. And so I come there. I'm like, oh, there's the exact goat milk we need. We buy it.
I was surprised.
I don't know why I wasn't. But then as we were checking out, the lady's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. You were able to get that. She's like, that's hardly ever here. And I was like, like the boy who regrew his finger because nobody told him that humans do not regrow finger.
Yeah.
It's like that. Right. It's
why would it ever not be this way?
Yeah. And so because I assumed that, I'm assuming it was so.
Right.
But in Ukraine, that mind, so it's easier. What I'm saying is, on this divergent of the topic, but it is easier to fall into unsafety and actually stay blind to the fact that it's a choice because unsafety is more imminent. Like, oh, well, not having food does equal you dying. And, not having, I don't know, a heating or running water does equal you dying, right? And so, is it that bad in Ukraine? Do we ever not have heat? Do we ever not have water? Not really. But in Ukraine, when that situation happens, you kind of, you feel a little bit more on the edge all the time, right? So the solutions that you have trying to plan out for how do I survive feel very real. And so it would be easier to disconnect from this idea that it's all a story in Ukraine. Because what do you mean it's a story? I'm quite literally, if I don't go hustle and make connections and bribe, government officials to get sugar, I'm not getting sugar. You have, no matter where you are, whether you're not surviving because there's actually no food and no heat, or whether you're not surviving because, I don't know, Sally at the office doesn't like you or whatever, right? Like no matter what level of this Maslow pyramid you're at, you're dragging the unsafety from the story of inception of a child, right? So if I had to create my ultimate unsafety, I would be referencing back the presets that I had as a child of how the story got incepted and originated.
Yeah.
And so my solutions are really there, almost Ukrainian-ish, more so than Western. And in United States, it's actually harder to apply them because you're like, well, I'm not going to freeze to death. We have sugar, right? So, but the child still holds that preset because the story of walking down that same road is the same from the child mind.
Does when you go to Kroger and we buy a bag of potatoes, does that feel good? Do you feel anything from that?
No, I don't. Okay. I'm excited about eating potatoes. Yeah, but no, I kind of disconnect. Like, I've done a lot of work
to begin with.
Well, no. My gosh, when I first came here at 13 and I went to Kroger,
was it just like so soothing in order to buy whatever to have access to whatever you want?
Well, just to have a grocery store with groceries, right? Like when we were just in Belize, right? Did you feel like that?
There was not everything there. No,
no. But did you feel a little unsafe? Like, did it make you feel unsafe or not really?
It was weird. It was like it was a different experience. It was a little weird because it's like, oh, this is the grocery store, at least around here, and it is not a fully stocked grocery store.
Yeah, they're all tiny stores.
And there's like a lot of, what we would consider almost, staples that are just not here and look like they've never have been here. There is no place for cilantro. Just isn't there. Now, do we need cilantro to survive? No. Cilantro is a nice to have, not a have to have.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, and maybe culturally cilantro isn't whatever it is, But that applied to a whole lot of things.
The store having it and not having it, I guess, didn't hit it. But what actually hit more so is that Aiden, who's our child, wants guacamole, and me not giving him the food that he wants did hit, right? And so that's why we bought the salsa. I'm like, okay, worst case, if I cannot make the guacamole, we drove to like 5 or 6 different stores. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was not that far, maybe 10 minutes out of the way. But we drove to so many stores to try to score avocados. But then I thought, okay, worst case, we have the salsa, just like a pre-made, whatever the El Paso paste, yeah, whatever that brand is, like something we have in America here, to make sure that worst case, if it's not guacamole, then he has the salsa.
Yeah.
But does he need it? No, he just wanted guacamole because to him, like eating guacamole on vacations is kind of like almost like a,
it's like a vacation thing we do.
It's like a vacation thing we do. Yeah. And then we went to places and I think avocados are really expensive even here. And we got avocado with plantains there. And like the avocado, the guacamole came in that like tiny those little silver shot glass things that Indian stores serve for sauce.
Like an ounce or two of guacamole.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not guacamole.
Yeah, right. In America, you get like this huge bowl. Yeah. And depending on where you go, they like
it was like a quarter of an avocado's worth of guacamole.
Yeah, no, that was crazy small. Because the second time we went there, we had to get 2 of them. And it was not even that great. But I make some pretty good guacamole.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yeah, but so yeah, going back to the topic, the solutions that the child felt threatened by, I want to point this out, do not make sense right now. But if you are blind to the fact that you're continuing to live out those solutions and thus manifesting the problems to make sure that those solutions can be implemented, you will not see through this nonsense. Because in the long run, you would go, well, heck, what? Yeah, you literally have to go, the story is a lie. I'm not unsafe right now. And if I do feel unsafe, that is the child wanting to feel unsafe so it can implement all the solutions that it has been implementing all its life. And it's kind of really crazy, but you have to be adamant if you're actually serious about healing. Like if you want to stop living the same story, like I hear a lot of people say that are like, oh, I'm done living this, I'll have so much of this. It's just the same thing over and over and over. But it's like, but you have the solution. Just stop walking down the same road. Is that fucking scary? Yes. Like it's really scary.
Yeah, it is.
Because you have to unravel, you have to adamantly judge why you're behaving the way you are about everything. And that's why nobody wants to do that, because it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
And then you see through yourself. And then in my case, I go, oh, fuck, I'm an idiot.
Well,
no, to me, that works. I need to go, look, you're back at it again. I have to stop myself, and then I have to give the child compassion that is coming not from me as an adult, but the child is once again feeling unsafe.
Yeah.
And hurt.
I mean, to me, there's a bit of like, oh, I'm an idiot. But more than that, it's this existential crisis of like tearing down my identity.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's hard and it hurts and it's painful and it's scary. And, and you're like, is this even worth it?
Yes.
Is this, am I doing all this stuff in order to end up in a worse place? Because I don't want to do that.
Because it's scary.
I don't want to go through the pain and end up worse off than I was before. At least I knew that was a pain I was familiar with.
Mm-hmm. But you were not feeling it all the way.
Pain that I'm used to.
But you were familiar with it, but you're experiencing a constant ache.
That's the thing. It's chronic. It's
chronic ache. It never stops. But if you face it straight on, you allow it to become available.
Right. You face it straight on. It's acute and it's more intense. That's for sure. But it's at least there's a way through it.
But whenever you were doing it that one time, when I said, okay, go all the way, like build the causeway all the way into that vibrational frequency, that emotional stuckness, right? I don't remember if we recorded a podcast since then or not. Did we record a podcast since then?
I don't think so.
Yeah, whenever you were going through that, after you let that run, I don't remember how long was it that you were letting it run?
It was a couple of days. It was a while.
On the other end of it, is it actually worse?
No, it's so much better.
That like chronicness literally goes away. I'm not saying completely.
No, but it's gone to severely reduce. And it's like a weight's been lifted off your shoulders, because it's like, oh wow, I was really bogged down. I didn't realize how heavy that felt until it's not there anymore.
Yeah. Well, one, it's heavy, but then two, it's basically diminishing your life force.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like you're purposely going, oh, guess what? This unlimited light force, I don't want all of it because I have solutions to mitigate the lesser than. So I'm choosing the lesser than. So that road that you continue to walk down that has a hole in it is, I want to stay in the lesser than interpretation of reality. Because the second you go somewhere else, right? You choose not to go down the same story and go somewhere else. There's unlimited like pranic force there.
Right.
And then your solutions are unnecessary.
It feels like anything is possible.
Yeah, but think about this. The solutions are like nonsensical.
No, they all seem really silly, and it's like, I don't really need to do that. I don't need to do any of this stuff. I can just live every day for itself. I don't need to like obsessively plan the future out in some sort of bizarre compulsive way like I would do. I don't need to flowchart out conversation that I'm going to have with you or a customer or whatever. It's just like, yeah, I can just, if something arises, I feel like I am empowered to deal with it then and there. And I don't need to solve non-existent problems.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas my life was pre-solving non-existent problems.
That's everybody's life, though.
And it's like, gosh, that was so much time and energy that I spent on that. Pre-solving problems that do not exist.
But you're creating the problems.
Sure.
That's the thing is, let's say, okay, you could almost say like, okay, well, what's the harm in pre-solving non-existent problems if then, okay, well, then I just don't use that pre-solution. No, that's not how universe works. If you created a solution, the universe goes, oh, look, this person has a plan. Let me give him a problem to correspond to that plan. That's like literally how Earth is designed.
I mean, as someone with kind of a engineering-oriented mind, I enjoy solving problems, especially like technical problems. We've met with so many customers that didn't end up going with us, and they describe their problem, and I'm like, I'll just spend all this time like, oh, this it's interesting. It is an interesting thing to me, but anymore I'm like, other than for the fun of it, there's not a lot of point. Other than the fun of it, or if there's some sort of commercial application for it.
Yeah, but the reason why your engineering mindset actually came about to begin with, because that's the mindset you use to design the solutions to how you're going to solve not being loved.
Yeah.
So you wanted to feel empowered, right?
Yeah.
You wanted to feel like, oh, yeah, I'm not going to drown as a 3-year-old. I have a plan.
Yeah.
It's made out of crayons.
Right.
It's crayon squiggles, but I have a plan.
Yeah.
But that's the plan that you have been implementing your entire life.
Yeah. No, we met with some company. They wanted some sort of like smart screen in the front.
You're still talking about that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But like, it never came to fruition, but I had it all planned out. I had it all designed. I'm like, I know exactly what's going to drive it. I had it all figured out because, probably because it's just a distraction away from how I feel as well. But,
no, I'm talking about not physical problems of like implementing people's engineering solutions. I'm talking about problems of implementing to make sure you get loved.
I know, but I think that's kind of that too, because now I've got a great solution. Don't I look great, Mr. Customer?
Oh, you think that's it?
It's not that.
Oh, yeah. Like we've been doing this for so long. Unless I have a check in my hand that's cashable.
That's where I try to go now. Like, pay me, and
there's a lot of people have a lot of great ideas.
Yeah,
it's like want you to do stuff, but unless there's a check in your hand with a signed contract, you don't do nothing.
Right now, it's like I feel like I could probably solve most people's problems.
Yeah,
it's just I don't know that I want to dedicate the brain power to it until there's a check in my hand.
Yeah, no, and with you and I, it's a little bit different too because we're solving problems even though in the physical implementation, but we energetically changing structures in order to solve.
Yeah.
Which it's a whole other ballpark. So it's kind of like the problems can be solved in alignment with the universal consciousness as opposed to like a Band-Aid nonsense. Yeah, but there's no need to dive into anything unless there's a commitment on both ends of the party. So this is something that is desired.
Yeah.
So as far as choices, I think it comes down to a choice. Deep down, most people do not want to let go of lifelong list of solutions that they hold on to that make them feel safe, right? They have been functioning in a very similar way their entire life. The problems have been the same their entire life because the set of solutions that you have designed from age of 3 on have been the same. And for it's not rocket science for me to say, yeah, just evaluate what is it that you do in day-to-day life that propagates the same solutions, therefore designs the problems for them, right? And ask yourself, do I want to continue to have these experiences? Is this actually my story? Because if we all sat down and paused, unless you're in war-ridden Ukraine right now, you're not in danger.
That's the funny thing is that I have always, my whole life, felt like I'm in danger, like imminent physical danger, but I haven't been. I've never been on the verge of starvation or exposure or, dehydrated. Never. Like, literally never. But it sure feels like it. In fact, it feels worse than that.
Yeah, it feels worse than dying. Like death is actually a relief sometimes, right? Like people talk to me, I talk to people a lot about suicide, but the reason why people want to commit suicide, please don't. But because it feels like it would make things easier than experiencing the sorrow,
right?
That is the story.
No, I understand that, right?
Yeah. Because the amount, right? It is so much work to continue to battle against yourself to make sure that you continue to design the same problems so your solutions make you feel safe.
Right. It's easy to die for something. It's hard to live for it.
Yeah. Well, and in my case, the example that they gave was like there was literally an army coming for a haircut, right? And it's like your solutions are war level big, like unnecessarily big for something that is completely nonsensical. That in fact is not even a problem, right? You wouldn't even think twice about it. But their point is, look, you're just disproportionately outweighing the truth because the story is coming out of unprocessed trauma of a child. But yeah, if you're willing to give child space and to build that causeway into the child and go, look, this is just me as an adult still living out my childhood fears. There's nothing else to that. And then basically at that point, you can almost use logic there and go, what is it that I do in my everyday life? What solutions do I create that are solely there to soothe the trauma of the child?
I mean, the funny thing is, it turns out that almost your entire day is that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're not aware, the entire day is that. But you have to be diligent, right? Like if something pokes you all of a sudden, like something in your day pokes you, and you have that whoa, bigger than life reaction, then the thing is, it's not about the spoke. What is the child feeling? And so you have to continue to reinforce that causeway to where you give your emotional being space to feel what you have been trapped to experience. Like that's what I want to point out. It's not a matter of like pretending like you're letting go of the story. It's actually giving it space. You go, yeah, that has been my story. It has been my truth thus far, and that's okay.
Yeah, that's a good point. The goal is not to fight it off. The goal is to actually accept it and integrate it.
The goal is not to go to war with it. The war is just to accept the war. Right? Maybe it is the war. The war is to accept the fact that as silly as this solution has been, that has been the solution so far. And when you see through the solution, which is actually the fear of the child of however it feels unsafe in that moment, you give it space.
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, that's fine. But I don't have to continue to implement the solution forward.
Yeah.
So walking down the different road, right, is not implementing those solutions. Giving child space to heal and go, yes, I have for the last 45 years been implementing this solution because I thought the child within me would feel safe. But it turns out I don't have to go that way forward. I can walk down the different road and not fall down the same hole.
Yeah.
But like that is a lot because you have to overcome yourself. Like I've said this before, you have to be willing to overcome your own, I say idiocy, right? But really your own fears.
Yeah. To me, just going, yes, this is actually how I feel. This is how I've always felt. And, I've spent my whole life trying to fight it, trying to suppress it, trying to, look the other way and ignore it. Is a really profound thing. Because I have, like, my whole life, I've been afraid of this and worried about that and, anxious about whatever. Always. And it's always there, whether I'm aware of it or not. There's always something running in my mind that's worried about this or, bothered about that. And
but then you're trying to mitigate it forward.
Well, yeah, I mean that too. I'm just talking about the feeling to begin with. But it all traces back to it is a child me that is scared and worried and anxious and my whole life has been, no, I'm not, and I ignore it and I fight it, and that doesn't work. You can't win that fight against yourself.
Yeah. Remember, I kept on saying that, like, you have to go in the space where the child feels all of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's going to be a lot. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's a lot. But
No.
When you actually go there, it is immensely a lot.
It's a lot. It's crippling. Yeah, but just being open to accepting it, to accepting what it is you're accepting yourself.
You're accepting the child that has always felt that.
It is true that I am worried about this. It is true that I'm scared about that. It is, and just being okay with that. That doesn't mean that you wanted to have, it doesn't mean anything other than you've accepted that it is true that you feel that way. That is all it means. And it took me a while to even realize that that's what it means.
What did you think it was?
I thought if I accept it, then it's going to come true. If I accept it, then I'm I don't know. I didn't want to accept it because accepting it felt like it made it more like it happened. It made it more real. It made it more, I don't know. When it's really just not lying to yourself anymore about how you feel.
Yeah, it really comes down to that, not lying to yourself.
And then you're like, oh, okay, look at this. This explains a lot. This explains all this behavior. This explains all this monkey mind. This explains all this, fear and everything. And, now when I'm poked by something, I'm like, okay, I am bothered by this. This does, frustrate me, irritate me. It does whatever. And I can go down to, well, it makes me feel unsafe. And it's often, I'm like, it's similar to whatever happened in childhood. And that's okay. It's okay to feel however I happen to feel about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, because sometimes you do need to deal with whatever the situation is. You're not dealing with it out of a trauma reaction, which probably isn't the best way to deal with it. You end up doing stupid things when you do that. You can deal with it from a wholesome place, a calm, integrated place, instead of, you're stupid.
Yeah, like just a child.
Yeah.
Instead of screaming, like saying nonsensical things or behaving nonsensically. I say nonsensically because it's the child who's being triggered.
Right. It's funny to just watch, my gut reaction to it, which is a child response. My gut reaction is, yeah, well, I'm going to take my ball and go home type of a thing. Or, just, I want to, I want to fight about it, or I want to, do an insult or whatever it is. It's just some sort of stupid child response that, isn't productive in the adult world. As much as it sounds like it would feel good at the time, I would immediately regret doing it. But seeing it and going, oh, look where this is coming from. Look what it is that I want to do. Okay. feel that, acknowledge that is true. I do want to go smack him in the face. That's true. Okay. Let that flow. It kind of dissipates itself. And then, a couple minutes, an hour later, a day later, I'm like, okay, all right, let's solve this problem. But it not solve it from slap someone in the face place.
Yeah, from right, because we don't register any, almost, unless we are aware, we almost do not register any interactions, outside of that filter of unsafety.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my case, right, if I don't trust people because people are gonna screw you over, right? Which is the story of my story originating out of Ukraine. Then I'm just on the lookout, constantly scanning all the ways people are gonna screw me, right? But then the truth is, if I'm constantly scanning, that's the primary energy, the solution, right? To always be on the lookout for people. The solution is being on the lookout, be vigilant. Don't trust people, be vigilant, right? But that's the solution to a problem that doesn't exist. Who's actually out there to get me right now, right? Probably no one. And even if they are, then what? I'll just deal with them when it comes around.
Yeah.
But if I'm walking around fearing it, right, and have this solution for it of don't trust people, I'm literally creating the problems where that presents to be the case.
Right.
Literally, right, as far as just people say, oh, you manifest your own reality. That's how you manifest it. Is you have preset labels for solutions of the world's unsafe.
Right. A, you're manifesting that, and B, there are in that particular example, there are side effects of now there's a whole bunch of people that you haven't trusted that you probably could have trusted in that example.
Yeah, but that's besides the fact. But the protection mechanism is, I'm not going to be around people because I don't trust them. But two, I'm standoffish and vigilant. That's a lot of energy. The solutions take up so much energy. It's much more bigger than oh, well, what's the big deal of you just, kind of being cautious? No, it's not that. It's the psyche, the emotional psyche that has that solution always available. Basically I'm always on some sort of scan lookout for it, is exhausting. The amount of pranic force that eats up is huge. Because I'm walking the entire time scanning life or scanning world for unsafety proof. Prove me that it's unsafe. Prove me that people cannot be trusted, right? It's wow, the entire world's resources are being occupied on Tanya's nonsense of the world. Please design scenarios around me where people are unsafe. Oh my gosh, from the standpoint of just if that energy went anywhere else or just was simply not used up, even that energy being stationary in a stationary form, just floating, would be better than designing that nonsense.
Yeah.
But we are always designing nonsense. We're taking all of our energy forces and we're channeling them into this nonsensical stories that we never evaluate. That's the funny part, right? Until I had that dream, I'm well, no, I mean, we've been doing this for a while, but I never evaluated why are our solutions running the world? It's not the problems running the world. It's our solutions to non-existent problems that are running the world.
Yeah.
And I'm why have we never thought of this? I mean, because I never had a dream about it before, but that's what it is. We're literally letting our nonsensical 3-year-old solutions drive our entire psyche, drive our entire world. And then I hate to say it, but then we're walking around complaining that the world is exactly how we thought it would be.
How we were afraid it would be.
Yeah, but here's the proof. That's why I have all the solutions. Well, yeah, the solutions are the ones who made the world.
That's why I built a fortress around my heart.
Yes, right. So it's it is, once you dissect it and you actually, I'm not saying anybody should marry this, but I've married this. It's it's not through this lens, and it's very much true. The more time I spend with this, it's been probably 2 weeks since I had this dream, maybe a little bit more. But the more time I spend on this, it's yeah, that's just it. There's not a different way to look at the world. And when you see it, you're like, wow, it kind of unravels the nonsense. So one, it holds you responsible, which I think is extremely important, because the goal one of not healing yourself is to avoid responsibility.
Yeah.
And so in this case, there's no one responsible for this. Billy Bob cannot be blamed, right? If this is happening, what solution am I trying to implement? Because the child is trying to solve what emotional disastrous problem that makes them feel unsafe. That's the only question to ask. I've made this because I have a solution. What solution is making us nonsense? And then the truth is, what is child trying to save themselves from based on this solution?
Yeah. What problem are you
What
bringing
belief
forth?
system that is actually false, that the child actually is running out of right now? Like out of which space the child is functioning out of, right? And that's it. And so then you're responsible, you're in charge of your destiny, you're making the choices for yourself, and then you can choose to walk down a different road by just acknowledging, yes, the child is once again scared, and that's okay. The child is once again afraid, and that's okay. But I don't have to be afraid and hold this solution once again into the future. Just let go of the solution. Because you give child the space. When you give child space to heal that, the child no longer needs the master crayon plans of solutions.
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, obviously. But I want to say this: the only reason this wouldn't work is because you are too afraid to unravel your own nonsense.
You could probably like inch away into it if that worked for you.
No, but inching away is the right way to do it, because you'll have one problem come up. You would go, oh, look, why is this in my face right now? What transpired this to be my reality? Chances are it's some sort of childhood trauma. Then you let the child go. You go to the child and you merge through the causeway. You merge the child in, and you give it space. You go, oh, I'm just afraid of, I don't know, if I don't perform well on this test, then mom and dad won't love me. And if mom and dad won't love me, I won't feel safe. Do you know what I mean? And you give that space, and you're like, that's fine. I will let the child feel that. Right. And so, yeah, the inching your way through it is really one step at a time, right? Like I mean, the universe is very graceful to where, like, right, you don't get an onslaught of problems. You get one little problem at a time. And sometimes it's not even a problem. Sometimes it's like a non-problem that you're still being triggered with.
Yeah.
So the stakes are really low if you're willing to do this work.
Yeah.
No, if you've been refusing to do this work, your stakes will become higher. But once you start doing the work, the stakes will actually lower. Right. So if you were already kind of at the bottom, dark night of the soul plummet, and you kind of been avoiding facing all this stuff, the second you let your higher self know, oh no, I'm willing to face the truth, the stakes will actually get a lot lighter. Almost immediately, because you will discharge the whirlpool that is sucking you down, right? Because the tighter hold you will try to hold on holding that story together in order to avoid facing the child, the tighter of the grip that you have on holding on to a false reality, right? So the goal is, the second you start admitting to your own truth, the grip loosens, and then the stakes become almost, non-existent, trivial, yeah. Non-existent.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.